last November. So
Um,
good,
okay.
lots of good luck to them. Mazel tov.
Yes.
Great, wonderful.
Cantor Ezring is our cantor up in Mount Kisco,
You were
northern
very
Louisiana.
lucky.
Right, Mount Kisco.
Yes, he is just, oh my gosh.
We had him
That's
first.
wonderful.
Yeah, well, there he is now, and it's a fantastic. So really wonderful news. Thank you all for
Yeah.
sharing.
Exciting. It's nice to get happy news.
Yes. Okay, so if you unmuted yourself, just go back to muting so we don't have background noise. But it's good to be with everyone today. Debbie had a previous engagement, so she told me she wasn't going to be on today, so it was okay for me to start. And I will share the slides. Give me 1 minute. Got to put it on. And we're going to have Anne singing Misha Baruch for us. So I will get to it in 1 minute. Sorry, I hope I'm not making you dizzy. If you remember, Psalm for Wednesday's a little long. Okay, there's the Misha Baruch. And Anne, thank you very much for singing and pausing between paragraphs so we can all say the names of our loved ones.
Misha Baruch Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Baruch Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Yasha kochech, Anne, thank you. And may you all have a speedy recovery. And today for our Psalm 94, we have Lori Beth Sussman and Paula Ferguson, who are going to be reading responsibly Psalm 94. And then, of course, it's part of 95 as well. So whoever wants to start.
Okay, I'll start. God of retribution, Adonai, God of retribution, appear.
Judge of the earth, punish the arrogant as they deserve.
How long, Adonai? How long shall the wicked exult?
Swaggering, boasting, they exude arrogance.
They crush your people, Adonai, and oppress your own.
Widow and strangers they slay, orphans they murder.
They say, Adonai does not see, the God of Jacob pays no heed.
Think clearly, you simpletons. When will you fools be wise?
Surely the one who shapes the ear can hear. Surely the one who forms the eye can see.
Surely God who disciplines nations will chastise, teaching mortals to understand.
Adonai knows human schemes, how futile they are.
Blessed are those whom God disciplines and teaches Torah.
Training them to wait calmly in adversity until a pit be dug for the wicked.
Adonai will not abandon God's people. God will not forsake God's very own.
Justice will return to the righteous. All the upright in heart will strive for it.
Who will stand up for me against the ungodly? Who will take my part against evil people?
Were it not for Adonai's help, I would be in my grave.
When my foot slips, your loving kindness, Adonai, supports me.
When I am filled with cares, your comfort soothes my soul.
Will the immoral claim you as their partner, defending evil under the mantle of law?
They conspire against the righteous. They condemn the innocent to death.
But Adonai is my refuge. My God is my sheltering rock.
God will turn their evil against them and destroy them with their own guile. Adonai, our God, will destroy them.
Let us sing to Adonai. Let us rejoice to our Creator, in our
Let us-
Creator.
Let us greet God with thanksgiving, giving psalms of praise.
Adonai is exalted beyond all that is worshipped.
Yasher koach to both of you. Thank you. And now we're up to Pirkei Avot, the second teaching in chapter 5, which we started chapter 5 yesterday. And you'll remember that I said that it was organized in a certain way, that there'll be a group of different teachings about the number 10, then 7, then 4, created that way so that people can memorize things. So what is the 10 for today? There were 10 generations from Adam to Noah in order to make known what long suffering is God. For all those generations kept on provoking God until God brought upon them the waters of the flood. So it's not saying such nice things about those first 10 generations between Adam and Noah. And of course, we know what happened with Noah. The flood came because he was a righteous person in his generation. And of course, there's always that discussion, if he lived in another generation, would have Noah been as righteous? Or because in comparison to all the difficult people who lived in his era, he surpassed them all. So, and the next teaching, I thought about doing it together, but I'm going to have you prep something tomorrow so we can have more discussion tomorrow and participation. Tomorrow is the generations that they're 10 generations from Noah to Abraham. And of course, Abraham is the most righteous person. And he's the one who's our forefather who started Judaism. And he was like the opposite of all the people before. He was so great that God created the covenant with Abraham. So what I want people to think about tomorrow is if you actually know the 10 generations that came before you, if you could actually do that. I know we had a great program with Corey Schneider about learning your family history, but that's about the stories. And then you'll see very shortly, we'll be sending out information that Ellen Bresnick and the Education Committee are going to be doing programs about how to write your legacy. But do you actually know the names? It always makes me sad. I don't do it anymore because I don't do as many life cycle events. But when I would ask people for the names of their relatives who they're having for Aliyot, and I'm like, so what are your parents' names? And they're like, I don't know what their Hebrew names are. And their parents' names, I don't know what their names are. So it's important not only to pass along the stories, but also to pass along the names. And I want people to come tomorrow to tell me their names. And we started this discussion, ironically, a few days ago. I remember that Rita was saying about who she was named for. So think about who you're named for and who your children or grandchildren or relatives are named for. And be very careful with how you name people, because sometimes they really become like the person they're named for, because I know that I've seen that in my life, but not so bad. So that's just something to think about for tomorrow. But let's talk about this one right now. So there's 3 different categories of protagonists now. And of course, they're all, they had women connected with them. Some of them are named Adam and Eve. Noah, they say his wife's name is Naamah, but Abraham, Sarah. But it's the men, what we hear about, Adam, Noah, and Abraham. And these generations, sorry, I switched that. Actually, I'm just going to stop share so I could see all of you. These generations from Adam to Noah deviated from God's hopes and dreams for the world. And God was trying to be patient, they say. And think about patience. It's going to be a key word in our discussion today. God waited for generations to see if they could mend their ways to repent the consequences. And of course, we know the consequence that in the 10th generation after Adam, Noah's flood. And that was the trigger, because all these 10 generations, they deviated from God. And God finally unleashed, they say, the divine fury on this sinful, violent group of people. If you remember the story about Noah, the word that they used for their violence was Hamas. And we know what Hamas is used for today, and they're pretty violent. So these 2 Mishnayot, the one we're studying today and 5:3 tomorrow, they're to call to our attention the significant change in God's strategy in a way. God lost his patience in the first part and destroyed the world with Noah. And then Abraham renewed his faith in people and said, I'm going to give you and all your people who are going to be as numerous as the stars, my covenant. So it's a type of way of an evolution, they say, of seeing God's thoughts. So Rashi, I'm going to go back to see the Hebrew. I don't remember exactly if it's in this one or, yes, it is. Okay. So Lahodia kama erech apayim lifanav. So if you think about the attributes of God that we sing on the high holidays, Adonai, Adonai, El Rahum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim. So here they're saying that long suffering could also translate it as Erech Apayim, the patience of God. Here the translation is the long suffering of God. Interesting idea of being patient is suffering. So God was Rashi says, patient with these people. The commentary on the Mishnah, the Bartanura, draws a more modern moral from this Mishnah. The Bartanura says that the reader should not be amazed by God's patience with those nations that presently subjugate Israel. God had great aspirations for humanity. That's why God was so patient with them. God has these hopes and these dreams that they'll get better, and that God waited 10 generations because God really didn't want to punish the people. God wanted to be patient with them. But the people didn't repent. They still had idolatry, rebellion, corruption. God waited 10 generations after all of that to see the righteousness of Abraham, which we'll see tomorrow. So what's the time period between Adam and Noah? Adam is the creation of the world. God invested so much responsibility into people. We have to remember one of the things that I probably say very often, that we're created b'tselem Elohim, that we're partners with God. And the people didn't take their responsibility. We have to see the responsibility is sacred responsibility to be partners with God. And between this period of Adam and Noah, the people didn't take it fully. They didn't see that it was their responsibility. So we see the genealogical progression of the people. Adam was the first person. He didn't know what was going on. Noah, by then, we could say he didn't know either. The story that you always skip over in Talmud Torah and Hebrew school of how post flood, he builds a vineyard, and he didn't know that the grapes would make him drunk, and he got drunk. And then one story, he had his nakedness was revealed, and one son came in to cover him, and did they embarrass him? Then it says that he helped perpetuate life a little bit with some relatives. So he didn't understand what life was going to be like. Whereas Abraham finally came to God and realized that we have this responsibility to be partners with God, and that it's a holy commitment. And it's the great Midrash story that some people think is in the Torah. It's not in the Torah, where Abraham saw that, or he was Avram then, saw that his father Terach had statues, and said, why are you praying to these clay objects? They have nothing here. And he broke all of them. And of course, his father got upset with him. And then maybe that's why God said, you know what, it's time for you to leave your father's house right now. But it's our obligation, as we see from Noah to Abraham, to spread the light of Torah, and more so the light that we're God's partners in creation, that we shouldn't stray from this righteous place of connection with God. And the people between Adam and Noah, they strayed. And that's why God decided to destroy the world with the flood that we are taught. So God's patience was tested by the people because they weren't following what God wanted. So what I wanted to ask everybody to share today is and try not to use specific names so we can still have it on Facebook, but what tests your patience? Like God was tested patience because the people were corrupt, but really what? And think about this. During this past year, a lot of people's patience were tested. If you're in your house with the same people all the time, or if you're alone, your own patience may be tested for your own inadequacies or things you're not able to do. So is anyone brave to tell me what tests their patience? You can unmute. Edna.
Okay.
Well, it's definitely from this year that people who only think of themselves and not think of the good of the community and what that could do for us. And I will not get in a discussion with people having to do with, do I wear a mask? Do I get vaccinated? Nothing, because it's not going to end well. And before the election, Billy Planner, who runs Edgar 36, and I was fortunate enough to be on a civil rights journey with him. He said, really don't have a discussion with people who you know you can't change their mind. Talk to the people on the fence and see if you can do something. And I think he's right. There's a lot of people out there that need the information, that might listen to you, but don't get into a head-to-head battle with somebody that you're just going to be angry with. And you might not ever want to talk to them again, and just expect that. But that's I've lost my patience on that.
I love the connection that we have to yesterday's discussion about how we talk to people and how we listen. And that really, both talking and listening can really stress you and not make you impatient at times and test your patience. So Eileen, I see your hands up, and then Paula.
Yeah, to elaborate on what was just said, I have a family member and we wanted to really get her vaccinated, and I went to great trouble and got it. Found out she got one appointment and kind of let it go. I haven't made my mind. And I made her, that's after I made the second one. And I said, okay, do what you want. It's not a problem, but just know that everybody in the family has been vaccinated. And if you don't come to family functions. Oh, I said, it's just for your safety and everybody else's.
Right.
Well, I don't want to be banned, so I'm going to go. So, and my other sister took her to get her vaccination. I had made appointments for two people. One was an 80, well, she'll be 82 this year, was having a problem. So we wound up meeting and they both got them, and we'll make sure they both get the second. But it was just a statement of fact. If you don't do this, these are your consequences. So that's somebody whose mind could be changed.
Right. It's so true. I think that when we could do it now or wait to have perspective, that during this time of COVID, both we can write about resilience and how everyone's patience was tested as well.
Yeah.
Paula, did you want to share something?
Mine's actually ongoing. I've always been annoyed when people just think of themselves, because I think I've said it before that one of the watchwords of my teaching career was that it's never about you, it's always about other people. But I'm sick and tired daily at people and the blatant disrespect for the jobs that people have. I'm so over it. And if there was something I could like quit my job and just tour the world and convince people that every single person has worth and every job has worth, it would. And it's because I've experienced it, and it's annoying. And you know, my husband's in manufacturing, and I really don't think people realize that every single thing they look at. I'm looking at a clock, a stapler, a mug, a pen, a lamp, a picture frame, and a calendar. Every single thing around you was made by somebody. And if you didn't have it, wouldn't you be kind of upset? Like if you didn't have a car, or you couldn't call a plumber, or you could, you know, there's more jobs than just three.
Right.
There's more jobs than doctor, lawyer, accountant. And I love the fact that at the beginning of the pandemic, everyone was all of a sudden, thank God for truck drivers and garbage men and blah, blah. And it's going to go back to the way it was, because you're not going to remember that those people are out there working every day for you, whether you're working or not. So.
Very true. I think the third word we should add to resilience, patience, is gratitude, and to really have gratitude for everybody. So I don't know about all of you, and I hope she doesn't mind, but I see Charmaine in the center of my screen, and I want to thank her for being out in the front line. I'm assuming, I can't even assume, but she's got a mask and gloves on, and thank you for everything you do. And I know that Jill Tomar sometimes is on with us, and she's out there on the front line helping the students in the Chicago school district. It's very different going out there and being right in the front line and probably those people who then have to go out have their patience tested all the time. So since we're talking about patience, just two comments. Just curious if anyone does anything that they realize that they test other people's patients. Like, did the people after Noah's world was destroyed, did they realize that maybe we did something we should change and we were testing God's patience? And I can start by telling you, I definitely probably test the patience of the drivers behind me, because I will not speed and I will merge very carefully. And if I don't feel comfortable merging, I'm just not going to. So I gratefully have lots of people that would drive me to prevent all the horns. And I don't care if people are honking my horns, I want to be safe. So I had a friend once in Chicago who went through a light because she wanted to make it and she got into a horrible accident. So since then, I don't rush. Life's too short. So anybody else know that they test somebody's patience? And have you ever tried to change that? Amy?
Oh, I test my husband's patience all the time when I can't make up my mind. And about, like even silly little things that have become silly these days, like what are we having for dinner? And it's something that I work on. I kind of think about it, when I'm lying awake at night, what are we going to have to, just try to be more decisive. And it's something that I've been working on this past year. And I think I'm getting there.
So indecision, and it's your own prerogative. Sometimes things that we have our patients tested on, it's a very personal thing. Some that you don't want to decide right away. It's your prerogative, but it might upset somebody else who's waiting to figure out what we're going to eat.
That's just as, that's a very, I think that's a very basic example, but it's just general indecisiveness that can test the patience of the person that you're living with or that you're trying to make a plan with. So.
Good, thank you. So as we're all doing our spring cleaning and getting ready for Pesach, I like to think of it as like another Rosh Hashanah in a way. We know that Nisan Kem is the new year of the calendar from the Torah and from festivals, that it's a way to start anew, to have a clean slate. So we can think about what we've done over this year and why did God have impatience with the people? Because the people weren't repenting. They weren't changing their ways. So we can think about what we need to change our ways about to live in a better world, that we have gratitude all the time. So it's a time to not only clean our homes, but clean our souls too, to see where we can find patience in the world. And honestly, I've learned that if you're patient, you can get through a lot of situations. Just relax and enjoy the ride and live in the moment. So I hope that we can all appreciate the moment. I'm going to turn to Toby Holtzman now, who will be reading our names of our loved ones who we're saying Kaddish for.
Today we lovingly recall Sylvia Krause, Herb Lubars, Ellen Babbitt, Theodore Fishman, Lillian Tobias, Doris Hildebrandt, Ruth Lewis Bloomfield, Michael Klingbaum, Michael Schrank, Shirley Shapiro, Carol Hope Taub, David Levy, Bernard Stein, Gloria Miller, Roz Pavane, Grace Versabi, Louis Abbey. May their memories always bring us joy when we think of them.
Thank you, Toby. And if anyone has any other names of loved ones who you're saying Kaddish for today for a yahrzeit and a recent passing, please unmute yourself and add those names at this time. And if you'll be reciting Kaddish, please rise in your place if you're able and unmute. And those who are responding, unmute, and we'll begin together. Yitzgadal,
Amen.
Adi Rakute Namnif Makute B'chayachon B'yomechon Hayet All Beit Yisrael Gala Bizman Hariv B'Nahu Amen. Hey Shmei Abba Barak Olam Amaya Yisparach Yishtabach Yipa'ar Yitpaman Yitnaseh Yitadar Yitaleh Yitalal Shemei Dekudashah Yehu Ela Ikadir Ata Ashtahata Shpakata Nechemata Namicha Ama Amen. Yehi Shlama Haba Min Shemaya Chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'Maru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Mama V'Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'Maru Amen.
Going to mute everybody so we don't have background noise. And okay, so I want to thank all who participated, and please look on Sign Up Genius because we have many more parts that people can participate in. If you take one part a day so we can spread out to have many different people participating. And I want to thank Debbie and Toby for organizing all of that. If you haven't registered for personal conversations for tomorrow night about organ donations, it's going to be a fantastic program, so I hope you register. When you register, you receive a reply email with the confirmation of the Zoom link, but usually sometime before the program, a couple of hours beforehand, we also send another reminder email that I want to thank Razel, who always sends that out again for everybody. So check the Women's League Week, and the wonderful speeches that we heard the other day from Margie and Ellen and Karen are all in the Shabbat message with a introduction by Debbie. So I hope you'll read that as well. And if anyone has any other announcements.
May the luck of the Irish be with you today.
Sounds good. And good health for everyone. So I hope you all have a good day, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Please remember, if you can come if you actually know 10 generations in your family, come to share with us. Or if there are a lot of people to share, just remember we want to make it short for each person. So if you have like a minute presentation about that, and if you don't worry, there'll be plenty to talk about.
Right.
So have a
Just
great
need
day.
to ask, ladies, we need someone to read the Kaddish list next week. So if someone's